listening to Loud on the Set with Kyle and James.
A level-headed movie critic meets a loudmouth movie cynic.
And action! All right, welcome back to the show. My name is Kyle.
This is James.
And today we're doing something fun. James, what are we doing today?
Listener mail.
That's right. We spoke, you listened, then you spoke, and now we are going to listen.
And
respond. And speak again. Then you can respond. No, so we've gotten suggestions, we've gotten comments, questions, and things as we've asked. So thank you so much for participating in this collective thing we're doing here. So we're going to read some of the mail. You know, we're going to play some of it. We've gotten some clips and some phone calls. Man, I don't know who got our number, but some weird people have been calling us. So we'll talk about that as well. But let's just start off right off the bat with some easy ones, some simple things that we'll go through, and we'll break it down from there. So James, this one's kind of about you, but I'm really curious to know the answer as well. This one is coming to us from Rachel. Thank you, Rachel. And we actually have a clip, so we'll play the clip for you right here.
Hi, this is Rachel, and I have a question for you. How is it possible that James is alive and has never seen a single James Bond movie?
James, how is this possible? I'm just as curious.
I don't know. I've never been interested in them. I don't know. You know, there's just certain series of movies you don't see. I mean, I'm the type of guy that just because everybody's doing something doesn't mean that I'm going to do it. Maybe you've caught on to some of my behavioral quirks, if you will.
You're not a lemming.
No, definitely not. I've seen, I think, 1.37 of the... How many Harry Potter movies are there?
There's
right?
8.
8? There's 8?
8 of 7 books, yeah.
Holy shit. All right. Barely seen any of those. Yeah, I just have never been interested in James Bond. What can I tell you?
My curiosity on this is that there's like 24 Bond films out there, God. And you've never stumbled across one on TV ever?
Nope.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm a James Bond fan, you might say, obsessive fan, and I've seen them all countless times, so I'm going to force you at some point to watch some of these because we got to review something concerning James Bond, especially with a new one coming out pretty soon.
Little side note, just to make a connection, because we're talking James Bond, and this podcast is, you know, we break into story mode quite often. So here's a quick story. Now that you guys know I've done the Peace Corps, right? I spent a lot of time in Ecuador, right? Ecuadorians, at least where I lived, had a very difficult time pronouncing the name James, and they mangled it any which way you could think of, Kyle. Hey, Jang, like you wouldn't believe how completely mangled the word James became out of the mouth.
It's a tough sound in different languages.
Apparently. Yeah. But then I realized the easiest way to teach people my name is if I said, yeah, in Spanish, of course, yeah, like James Bond. And then automatically the poorest people from the middle of the campo, as we say, the middle of the countryside, but, oh, see, James Bond. They understood James if you put it in the context, of movies I've never even seen.
Yeah, see, now that's even more reason you got to get on it.
My Peace Corps friends, all of the Peace Corps people I worked with, knew more about James Bond and could then pronounce and appreciate my name because of the reach of James Bond.
Can
you believe
hilarious. I can. That's funny. All right, give us our next one,
Okay,
James.
I'm going to read you one from Dan.
Hey, Dan.
Dan is sending us this message from Singapore.
Oh, wow.
All the way from Singapore.
Excellent.
All right? Dan says, loved episode 2. Funny stories. That story about Shutter Island and the girl walking out with that other dude. Priceless. Kyle, that's aimed right at you, man.
Yeah,
React, please.
Yeah. That was a singular experience in my life. There's been nothing that's even come close to that. And I think one of the funniest parts of that whole scenario was that when I went up into the theater, I was like one of the first people in the theater because I'd been waiting in line for so long. I went to the top middle of the theater, which is always where I park myself, you know, because that's my good view. I got the whole view of the screen. I'm right in the center. I love it. And the movie started packing in because I think it was opening night or close to opening night. And And so eventually, you know, there weren't a lot of seats going around, and everybody does that thing in the theater where they leave like the buffer seat.
Yep.
You know, you leave
I
the
don't
buffer
like that
seat.
shit, man.
I
Pack
hate
in,
it.
pack
I
in.
hate it. And so eventually, a group comes in. I have 2 buffer seats on either side of me, so I'm feeling pretty lonely at this point. Got my popcorn and my drink, and I'm hanging out. And this couple came up, and they asked me if I would move so that they could sit down.
Yes, that makes
No,
sense.
no, wait. Not scoot over one. If I could get up and move someplace else so they could have those 3 seats that were there for their friend that was joining them. So they asked me to get up and literally get the hell out of the way. And I said, no, and I scooted over one, and that was all I would give them. And I was so pissed off. It's like, could this get any worse? So yeah,
Oh, man.
it did.
Another layer to that already
Oh,
classic story.
man.
By the way, I'm gonna piggyback real
Yeah,
quick because
sure.
Dan from Singapore, we love you, Dan, had another quick comment aimed at Kyle, and that comment was, Toy Story. How fucking old is this guy, Kyle? 20? Obviously taking shots at our age gap here.
24. Thanks, Dan.
Kyle, hit us up with
How
something.
old's this guy, James?
I don't know if I should.
How many rings are on this tree?
Older.
Older.
All right, keep it going. What do we got next?
All right, I like this one. I'll send some stuff our way so we can have a little bit of a discussion here.
Okay.
So this one comes from Jane, and we actually have a clip for this as well regarding our disaster movie podcast. Here we go.
This is Jane. I just don't know. I just don't know. There must be more than these 2 nouveau, naive, and actually very neoteny-ish considerations of real disaster movies. Goethe's Sorcerer's Apprentice, you know the one, the poem muddled by Walt Disney, must be included in any discussion of disaster films. Give me a break. Pure terror. Terror as Mickey Mouse tries desperately to sweep his way out of a wet grave as the evil sorcerer looks on. Enchanted brooms coursing water up to his ears. Now that's what I call a disaster. So you 2 wise guys should just check it out, really.
So do you remember this? Mickey Mouse is the Sorcerer's Apprentice fighting off all the brooms and everything.
Mm-hmm, I
She
do.
claims this is a disaster film that we should reference, and that there are much scarier and more terrifying psychological disasters than what we reference. So, James, let's start here. So, what do we think of Jane's comments here?
Well, I blame Jennifer, the guest host. I'm kidding. Valid point. If you looked at that episode, and of course I've listened to it many times, our focus is rather narrow. In fact, an anonymous email that I received based on this same podcast, so I'm going to piggyback a little bit, very sarcastic, very biting about the Disaster Movie Podcast, said, open quote, I could have used more volcano, close quote. And yes, in retrospect, oh boy, we got hung up on volcanoes in that episode, yeah.
There's a lot about volcanoes.
Yeah. In fact, I'm going to stop saying it right now, otherwise this podcast is going to become
But there's
about
a lot of
volcanoes.
movies about volcanoes, you know?
Well, either way, yeah, I mean, Kyle's youth is not an excuse. He's got a wide repertoire of movies that he's seen.
I certainly do.
I don't know. I guess the conversation took that course. For those of you who don't know, we don't script a lot of this stuff, do we?
No.
We have a very skeletal plan or outline.
Can you tell?
Can you tell? I mean, it's very natural, very flow, conversational. Yeah, I mean, I tried. I brought in fucking Independence Day and Terminator 2 in that podcast, and that was kind of odd in retrospect. Yeah, that's.
But
anyway,
I think that we ended up since we were talking with Jennifer, and Jennifer has a background in kind of the geological sciences and stuff.
Right.
Those things were interesting to her, so we chose to focus on those, and that's where we see most of, I would say, the big blockbuster disaster films. So we're keeping it relevant to recent times, as well as going back a little bit and piggybacking on that. So we had some good examples of the genre now, which is like some big natural disasters happening, everybody's getting killed, and then we saw those in history as well. But there are tons of disaster films that I would have love to extrapolate and go on about after that. Psychological disasters, horror disasters. There's a lot of categories there. So we kind of chose to focus on the natural disasters as opposed to anything else.
Jane from San Francisco, we invite you to be on the show. How
yes,
about that?
Come and talk to us about all of your favorite disaster films. I want to piggyback on top of this.
Okay,
I know
go.
it's your turn to go.
That's all right. Go.
But regarding what we were just talking about, this one comes to us from Linda, and she had this to say.
Okay, hi, I'm Linda, and I really enjoyed the Fast Forward Top 20 All-Time Movies. I actually paused the podcast to start over again so I could write down these movie greats. And I can't believe that James has practically seen none of these movies. Don't they have movie theaters in New York? Gosh, you just have been living in a cultural wasteland. And my sister thinks that you're pretty foul-mouthed.
So, James, our response for Linda.
Oh, boy. I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of the culturally relevant movies, especially historically. Oh, boy. How do I respond to this? I don't have a film background, right? Mm-hmm. And my taste in the arts, if you will, is limited to the arts that I enjoy. And I remember, as a senior in high school, Kyle, I took a class in film, one semester.
Sure.
Or, in fact, my high school's in trimesters, so even shorter of a period, if you can imagine that. Trimesters. And, I remember now that I reflect on it, the teacher tried to show us things like North by Northwest.
Oh, I love that movie.
I'm pretty sure Casablanca was in there.
I love that movie.
And I'm pretty sure I fell asleep in both of them. And a little bit of history on me. I struggled quite a bit in high school, and I certainly didn't have the taste for that kind of stuff. I come from a pretty working class background, and sometimes our taste is a little lowbrow, I've watched movies like Rad and What About Bob and clearly Ghostbusters and Coming to America 1,000 times each. Yeah, I probably could have squeezed in a screening of Ben-Hur during that time. Did I? No. And if you ask me as a little kid or even as an adolescent, hey, do you want to watch Dr. Zhivago? And I'd say, no, too bad I'm watching Ninja Turtles for the millionth time instead. Sorry.
But I think that's what makes this great because we have a very different set of backgrounds, different set of things that we enjoy, especially in the film genre. Some of it overlaps, but we get a lot of dissenting opinion here too, and I have more of a filmographer's background. I don't know what that word means, but I've seen a lot of the classics and everything and have looked into that a little bit, and I love that your uncensored view of things, because it's a lot of things that people want to say and maybe are afraid to say, especially if you're in a conversation with somebody. I'm like, James, did you like this movie? And you're like, no, I hated this movie. Get there. Yeah, just goes right into it, and it's good because it's coming from a very real place. And then I can, I'm not afraid of you. I can keep my own and hold my own opinion about it, and we can have good discussions about things. So stay uncensored. I'll give you some suggestions, so you can watch them and complain about them on the podcast. But we'll get you caught up on some classic movies.
Well, let me address the vulgarity for a second, too. I've mentioned in previous podcasts, podcasting is not my life. And in fact, movies aren't even my favorite topic to rant about. But you know what? I definitely subscribe to the George Carlin line or philosophy, if you will, of it's all bullshit and it's all bad for you folks. And so when it comes to movies, my cynicism, and remember, that's the pitch line for this podcast, a level-headed movie critic.
And a loudmouth movie cynic.
Yeah, who's the loudmouth movie cynic? That's me.
Me.
And
well, I was wrong. No, I'm just kidding.
And so almost always, nearly all the time, my bullshit filter is set to a very fine screen. And not a lot of stuff gets through it. And I'm not afraid to call stuff out, like Kyle just said. All right, what else we got? Is it my turn?
Your turn. Give us something else.
Give us something else. I'm going to read an email from the anonymous mailbag here, listener mailbag. And this one is quite short and, here it goes. Loud on the set with Kyle and James. Oh, how I envy the deaf. From Anonymous, city unknown. All right, next one, Kyle. Sometimes jokes stun us. That one stunned me. I don't have a comeback. Fuck you. Right? Oh,
That's
boy.
excellent.
Yeah.
All right. Here's an interesting one, kind of to piggyback on what you said. A passing comment, since we'll get into that. Sorry, Kyle, but I hated both Ben-Hur and Dr. Zhivago. And that comes to us from Rachel. No,
Ooh, Rachel.
Rachel said that to us. And, that's okay. And the reason we're doing this is to bring awareness to things that, if you haven't seen them, you might enjoy them. And if you have seen them, we can talk about them, and you can share your opinion. So send us why you hated it. Talk to us more about it. And I want Rachel to come on the show, and she wants to be on the show, so we'll talk about a lot of stuff soon with her as well. But more interestingly, this one comes to us from Sandy in Ohio.
Ooh, Sandy from Ohio.
Yeah.
All right.
And she was asking us about Coco the gorilla from our rom-com podcast. And I was like, okay. So I opened up the email, and she wanted to know, did Coco enjoy the rom-coms? And so I sat down with Andrea, and she had this to say about it. So Andrea, can you address this? Did Coco enjoy the rom-coms, and was there anything special that you saw when she was enjoying the rom-coms?
I mean, for me, I felt like she enjoyed it when she didn't fall asleep, but actually just paid attention.
Yes.
Because Coco, I don't know if I said it before, but she knows that she's a big deal and that her time is valuable. Not even kidding.
Oh, that is amazing.
And so she usually didn't give her attention to you or anybody, she would turn away, literally turn away from you.
Wow.
To you. So if she didn't do that or fall asleep, then I felt like she enjoyed that more so than other times. And there would be times when she would look directly at the screen as well, which was interesting. She could understand spoken English.
Excellent. So the overall reaction regarding the rom-coms was good from Coco. She enjoyed watching them when she wasn't neglecting them.
Yeah, she enjoyed them more than her educational films.
Ah, okay.
And by education films, I mean we only showed her like sign language videos.
Okay.
Like elementary sign language videos of like, this is how we sign apple or whatever, things like that.
So there was something to be said for the dramatic and cinematic things brought to you by the rom-coms for Coco.
Yeah, especially with accents. She enjoyed the British accents.
Fascinating. Coco, the gorilla, enjoying the British accents in the rom-coms. But really, who doesn't?
Well, she was a fan of Hugh Grant.
Oh, well. Excellent. And who's not a fan of Hugh Grant?
A little controversial, maybe.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
No problem.
So that's what Andrea had to say regarding Coco. Any thoughts about that, James?
Well, you know what? In addition to our Ohio listeners, or maybe it's a listener, I don't know, whatever.
We have a couple, I promise.
Yeah, okay, good. A lot of people were fascinated with the Coco angle.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get that too?
Oh, yeah.
People wanted to talk less about the movies and more about this interesting feature or facet, whatever, of Andrea's experience. Like everybody wants to know about Coco and how that maybe Coco should have her own podcast.
Yeah, Coco, come on the podcast if you're a listener, avid listener. I'll talk like Hugh Grant for you if you come on the podcast.
Well, at least he has one fan out there, right?
Well, I could be Hugh Grant right now, and you don't even know.
Oh, Jesus. Anyway, all right. What do we got next, Kyle?
Okay, so what do we got next? I got a really good one next. Okay, this one comes to us from Sonia.
Sonia.
And Sonia asks if there is a specific formula that makes a film good. What is this formula? And does it change based on genre? Interesting question, and I would say that's almost a podcast of its own, but let's give a brief answer and at least address it for a moment. So I'm going to ask you, is there a specific formula that makes a film good?
I haven't read these listener mails ahead of time. I don't have time to prep this one, so I'm just
off the
dome, right from the dome. Here we go. I'm not sure I would use the word formula in this case. I might use the word characters. Almost every really good movie that we've reviewed and that we feel positively about has great characters, because otherwise it is just moving pictures on a screen. Like, no one's going to sit through 90 minutes of spaceships flying around unless there's people that are behind the controls and they do interesting things that we can connect with. No one's going to sit and watch a movie about boxing if all the footage is shot from the bleachers, right? From the nosebleed seats, and you have no idea who the people are because you don't care. We're human beings. Movies have to have things like that in them. Or you may, maybe somebody will debate me on that topic. Like Disney's cranking out all these animal movies, right? Like monkeys running around and shit like that. Whatever. But they've anthropomorphized them, right? They give them storylines that are almost essentially human-like. Like, a family member goes missing. Gotta find the baby elephant. Whatever they've done. I haven't seen any of them, sorry. I go for real documentaries instead. But you see what I'm saying? I would say characters. Strong characters. What do you think?
Okay. Here's my angle on that. And it goes back to visual arts and storytelling as a core medium throughout history. So what makes a good painting good? When you look at a painting, is it telling you a story? Can they convey emotion through just a single panel? The answer is absolutely, and it comes down to technique and whatever medium you're working with. There are countless books out there that I've read accounts of, screenwriters picking it up and reading it, writing their first screenplay, and selling it and turning a profit on it, and the movie coming out pretty good. So there are some formulas that can make you some generic films, okay? Then you have really inspired work, and you have things that break the mold. So you can take conventional stories and flip them on their heads. And I think when it comes down to formula, we've even mentioned on a separate podcast that we've seen formula become very bad for movies when things become too formulaic, when you can just plug anything into the formula and produce something terrible. So I think it comes down to inspiration. I think you definitely need characters and you need good storytelling. So there's commonalities that humans understand, and that we're stories we're telling through all of our forms of art, every medium of art. And what it comes back to are those original truths and those ideas, those conflicts that we're struggling with. And when you can create real emotion, either using characters or imagery or dialogue, there's lots of great movies that can be held up just based on its imagery telling a story.
Right.
There's some that can be held up on their dialogue. A Dinner with Andre, you ever
Clerks.
seen that? Yeah, and there's lots of different pieces that you can come out with a good movie. I think people, of course, have their own tastes. Not one movie's not going to be great for everybody. But I think getting that human element into it, those universal truths that we're all accounting for, I think that's the trick, is using your individual voice to bring universal truths into somebody's mind. Excellent. In an interesting way.
All right.
So that's our
Thanks, Sonia.
Deep philosophical thing for a moment, and we can discuss that at length at another podcast as well. But let's hit something else.
Okay, let's get back to the humor here. That's pretty serious listener mail. We handle it well. Okay, this one comes from Anonymous. Anyway. It says, I think this one's directed at you, Kyle.
Okay.
Hey, Senor Bootleg, I'd love to hear more reviews from you about shit you ain't seen. Wait, I think that's one directed to me.
I think that was directed at you, pal.
Hey, Senor Bootleg, I'd love to hear more reviews from you about shit you ain't seen. With the exception of Fast Forward, I haven't reviewed a movie that, I guess that was probably like 10 or 11 or 12 or 14. Anyway, all right, point taken. I'll see some more of these friggin'
We're working on commonalities, and one of the interesting things about this podcast to note so far is that James and I have actually never sat down together and watched a movie yet.
That's right.
So this has all been a separate endeavor. So we're trying to find movies that we've both seen, but we're gonna make an effort to get some movies that either one of us has seen or that we haven't seen, and watch them together so we can get some fun insights and conversational moments in there as well. So, Senor Bootleg will bring up his repertoire pretty soon. Okay, I have another one that's brought to us from Andrea. So she's been on 2 of our podcasts so far, and she really enjoys it. She even said that she thinks we're adorable, which is, I guess, a nice thing to say. I don't know.
Yeah, but she worked with gorillas. So what's the standard here? Anyway, all right.
Okay, well, she said that she is, quote, sick and tired of hearing about the same films every time that we talk. So those films are the Ghostbusters, the Star Wars, Indiana Jones, any Marvel film. She's sick and tired of hearing about them and wants us to respond and branch out, wants us to see some different movies. So I want to ask you for a minute, and we kind of have hit on this a little bit, but what ends up limiting your choices in films, or what inspires you to watch a movie now when you're going to sit down and see a movie?
Well, we covered this a little bit in one of our previous podcasts, but for me, my taste is quite limited. Well, I don't know why. I can't explain why, but I, in this art form of cinema, I operate on the extremes. And I go to see a movie nowadays if it's a documentary that I know is going to really blow me away, or if it's my escapism, and that tends to be superhero movies. Why do I not operate in any other I don't know, a lot of comedies to me are really stupid. I tried giving all the latest wave of all the the Paul Rudds and Rudd, excuse me, shit. And the Will Ferrell movies, I can't stand those. Old School and Talladega Nights, and the one he made about fucking figure skating, and they just cranked out a dime a dozen. I feel the same way about animated films like Toy Story, Toy Story 2, Toy Story 3, Finding Nemo, Madagascar, Madagascar 2, Madagascar Penguins. It's just on and on and on and on and on. And it's shout out to my brother Kev again. A lot of times I feel like I've seen this movie, fill in whatever movie in that blank, I've seen this movie without even seeing the trailer.
That's very true.
The title alone, or even a promotional movie poster, come on.
Absolutely.
How many fucking things is Medea going to go through? For example, right? Isn't that it? Is it Medea, right? Medea goes to jail.
I think it's Medea, but...
Medea. Whatever. Fuck that. Fuck all that shit. It's got to be either really serious or, it's a narrow worldview. I know. Whatever.
So I think...
It's a valid point, though. I agree.
One of the reasons that we do fall back on those when we're having discussions is because those movies have kind of built our foundation, or we talked about why we should see a movie, and they kind of got our interest in films and brought us up there. And I've used some of them as commonalities to talk to James about different things. But I have seen a grand scope of films. And I like watching different weird stuff whenever I'm watching things. I love animated movies. I know James doesn't enjoy them so much. But I think that comes with if I may, a little bit of ignorance on James's part, because you don't know what you're missing on some of them, just because a lot of them have changed, and there are some really, really interesting genres. I watched an amazing comedy animated film when I was, I think, 16 or 15, and at the time I hated it, and it was awful being dragged to it, and I didn't understand it. It was weird and it was stupid. But now it's one of my favorite films. It's called The Triplets of Belleville. If you ever have the chance to see the movie, it's amazing. It's almost entirely in French for the very few lines that are in the film. It has beautiful imagery and art styling. The characters are wonderful and amazing, and the plot is so interesting and weird and out of left field, and there are some really brilliant things that pop up under the mess of things. But I know what you're seeing, and the things that get highly publicized are never the things that end up being great normally.
Well, I'm very much a cynic, and and I've in my lifetime seen, for example, hey, sorry Andre, but here it comes. I've seen the Star Wars franchise turned into a toy making factory. I've seen Jason movies get up to 13?
I don't know. He's in space fighting Freddy Krueger or something.
I've seen the Halloween franchise, which I love the original, become a self-parody, essentially.
I just watched the second Halloween movie for the first time a couple nights ago. Have you seen it?
Wow, yeah, of course.
It's a pretty good one.
Yeah, it's not so bad. It picks
follow-up.
up right after the...
Yeah. It's kind of like Rocky, actually.
Yeah.
It picks up right
on the way to hospital,
right?
even, right? Just like Rocky 2. But I recently had an adult, a fully grown adult, tell me that the animated movie Inside Out was one of the, quote, and this is not listener mail, whoops, but whatever. But this person told me that it was one of the most insightful psychological films she's seen ever. And I thought, this is a fucking computer-generated cartoon about a little girl who's like apparently I think a brat who just doesn't want to move. Are we really? Are we? I've said this before during the rom-coms. Like it's all part of the dumbing down. Like the line between adult and child has been blurred so much that we look to Inside Out for lessons on psychology and the complexities of the human fucking brain. I'm a cynic, Kyle. Sorry.
I think that what you said, trailing off at the end there, I think that was an important distinction. Is that this is art and entertainment and everything, and you can inspire ideas and things like that. But I've seen that movie and I really enjoyed it, and I thought they really did a good job with it and conveying a lot of the complicated processes there. But yeah, you can see a documentary about psychology and things like that, and of course gain a lot more insight in it. But I think when you try to make a movie for the kids and have the adults be interested while they're sitting there in the theater with their kids, they've done a fantastic job of starting to bridge that gap so that everybody gets good entertainment value and a good film on both fronts out of it. So you'll one day maybe your icy heart will start to.
I don't think so. If I tell you what, if we need Nemo to teach us to enjoy marine biology and protect corals, and we need Inside Out to like study the brain, we're in a lot of fucking trouble.
It's got to start somewhere.
All right, we'll have a podcast about this.
Incept at the young minds.
Yeah, and it also comes with Happy Meals. Fuck that. It's just a money grab. All right, Kyle. Well, that does it for the listener mail that I can read on air on the show tonight.
You know what? I forgot about the other thing we were going to address. So before we
right.
close out listener mail 1 here, because we've got a lot of other stuff that we're going to respond to eventually. Can't just pack it into one episode, though.
Cannot.
Got to have some things. So we have been getting a lot of phone calls, too, which has been interesting. And they haven't just been in Ohio and San Francisco. It's been worldwide. We've been getting phone calls from all over the world.
Wow, great.
I know.
All right.
It's surprising.
Excellent.
So, I don't know. It's...
What? What's the problem?
It's just been a little strange. I don't know. I'll let you decide. We'll play a couple right now. You guys can hear them as well. We'll roll some of the listener mail that we've been getting via phone. So.
Worldwide, right?
Yeah. So here we go.
Kyle and James, thank you for saving my money and not going to see Jurassic World. I heard the working title was Jurassic Park 4. Shame on everybody. Yeah, this is Deacon from L.A. I guess Steve Buscemi and Paul Rudd are fans of yours because I saw the two of them just kind of wandering around aimlessly rethinking their lives. This is Eric from Kansas City. Let's just call alien films and robot films sci-fi. You think it'll catch on? Yeah, this is Kevin from Seattle calling in for Loud on the Set. Just wanted to tell Kyle, hey man, I love your work. I combed through the credits of The Dark Knight Rises, and sure enough, there it was. Jackass in a trench coat himself.
Okay, so for anybody who's still skeptical, yes, I was in The Dark Knight Rises. I don't know if that was sarcasm, thinly veiled there, but yeah, I actually, when I went to the theater, it was really funny because I sat in the back with my sister and my family, and when I saw myself on the screen, I stood up and went, yeah, and like yelled, and everybody around us was like, what is going on right now? And I was so stoked. So yeah, I'm in the film.
Not in the credits though. We checked.
Not in the credits.
Wise guy.
Yeah, but here, let's play a couple more and get some more insight.
All right,
here.
worldwide calls. Here we go.
This is anonymous from None of Your Business. Kyle, it's okay. Friends can cry together during kids' movies in the dark. Yeah, this is Dan from Oakland. I was just wanted a question for Rock Girl. If she ever shows up again. How is she aware of the trope in Twister? Was she ever the romantic link between her ex loose cannon and her current by-the-book geology-led research teams? Cite your source, lady.
All right. You know what, Kyle? Now I know why you were giving me that weird look. Worldwide calls.
Yeah.
Something ain't right here.
We as far as I know, didn't give out our phone numbers, so...
this is some old bullshit right here.
It sounded a little bit straight. Are you noticing something with
I
the...
see a pattern.
With the
something's going on
sound, though? They do sound kind of similar, though, don't they?
Yeah. I don't know about this.
Even the tone of the insults kind of sounds similar.
Yeah. Has the globe become homogenized in terms of accent and...
Yeah.
I don't. You know, do we have more? Is
Yeah,
there
we
more
got
in this?
one more. We'll
All
play.
right, all right,
We'll
all right.
roll one more and see.
We'll
see
talk
what's
about
up
it.
here.
Something's fucked up.
Yeah, this is Bob from Tuscaloosa. I don't know. IRL equals in real life. That's the same number of syllables, so why say it? You're saving 0 time. Nothing makes me more mad, Kyle, than an educated tech speaker.
Yeah, fuck you. I knew it. It's the same fuck. It's
You
the
didn't
same
even
guy.
know his name.
Fuck this guy.
All right, so we got a heckler.
All right,
That's great.
we got a heckler.
All right,
Great,
wonderful.
great. Keep calling in. You know,
Yeah.
your YouTube views and your hits, they just give us more positive energy to keep going, man.
We're rolling on it, you know.
And you know, yeah, you're a little funny at times.
You don't phase me.
You don't phase us. You got something there. You got an edge. All right,
I'm
you know.
comfortable in my own skin, my own thoughts.
Yeah.
IRL in real life. And
Yeah.
on that note, we're closing out listener mail 1 here. So thank you so much, everybody, for sending things in, questions, comments. It's been fantastic. We've been taking all your suggestions in mind.
Yeah.
We love doing this. We love getting feedback and making it better every time.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Rachel, Andrea,
Linda,
Sandy, Linda,
Sonia,
Kev, Bob,
everybody,
Gaston.
Yeah, all the people that
Sonia,
called,
yeah,
whatever.
all the people.
Yeah.
All
We can
you.
take it. We can take the criticism here. So if you've got more comments, you got more sound bites you want to send us, loudontheset@gmail.com. Send them in. Subscribe on Facebook and YouTube and iTunes and, I don't know, the internet. I don't even really know how it works anymore. Just do those things. Like some stuff. Give us some comments. And we look forward to getting your feedback as well. Except from that one guy. I don't know. But
we'll see what we do with his
we'll send the calls to the FBI and see if they can figure out what's going on.
Yeah, take that, man. Take that.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end today. So, again, thank you all for listening. Go see some good movies and send us some stuff about it. Have a wonderful time.
See you later.
And cut.